some fun stuff going on through social media where basically NFL fan bases and also specifically Chiefs Kingdom, they were releasing their bold predictions on what they feel their team will do this year and player individual stat wise as well. And what better time than right before week 1 to do it? So that's what we're going to dive into today. But before we get into any of that, please be sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video because I'm going to keep you up to date on anything Kansas City Chief related that you do not want to miss out on. And without further ado, let's have some fun. Now, before we get a little too crazy with these bold predictions and jump off the deep end, we do have a game to prepare for because it is week 1 and I will keep you guys updated throughout the week, but I wanted to give you a little update on the injury report. And on the Kansas City Chiefs side, it's still all positive. No new injuries to report. Everyone practiced fully, and that's always a positive sign to hear, especially when the season is about to start. And hopefully they can keep going throughout the year and stay as healthy as possible, because once this is the healthiest team, they're going to be one of the best teams and very hard to stop. As for the Arizona Cardinals, on the other hand, that's a completely different story. At least that's what it says on paper. And on paper, their keyword is day to day. And they added 2 new players on their injury report, and it basically kind of takes away everything I said in my last video about J.J. Watt, because I thought this would be the most healthiest J.J. Watt was going to ever play against the Kansas City Chiefs, and hey, he's not. He has a lingering calf issue, and honestly, it slipped my mind, or honestly, I just wasn't paying attention at all. He had COVID a couple weeks ago, and that's what a lot of people thought he was missing camp for. Well, practice now. But apparently, it's a lingering calf issue, so that's keeping him day to day. The severity of it, we don't know, because the keyword is day to day. So I still anticipate him to play, whether it be at a limited capacity or not. I do see him out there. I do see a lot of these day-to-day players playing against the Kansas City Chiefs. It's going to be a big game, and Arizona always starts their season off fast. And if they're going to start it off fast, they need all their players out there, definitely to the best of their abilities. And to recap their day-to-day injury report, you have Zach Ertz, Rondale Moore, J.J. Watt now, and I'm missing, Marcus Golden, the other pass rusher, and then Trayvon Mullins, too, the newly acquired cornerback from the Raiders. He's familiar with the Kansas City Chiefs. He's day-to-day as well. I honestly didn't really focus on the specifics on the injury. I just saw day-to-day. I don't know how many times I used that word in this video, but that was the Arizona Cardinals' key term on their injury report. We'll see moving closer to Friday and into the weekend if any of those get upgraded. What I'm anticipating is that they will be game time decisions, and then going into Sunday morning, you'll see them warming up, and then they will play, even if it's at a limited capacity or if it's a full game. I highly anticipate that none of these players are missing this game. Now it's time to get into the good stuff. We are getting right into the bold predictions. And before we get a little more into it, I do want to mention, I'm not going to go too absurd with it and be like Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to be a 2,000-yard running back. No, that's unrealistic bold. I'm going to try to keep it as realistic as possible, but still be bold to where, hey, this is a pleasant surprise, and we're glad this player lived up to those expectations. I don't want to go, imaginary, because I want these things to actually happen. For me to say Mahomes is going to pass for 8,000 yards, yeah, that'd be beautiful, but it's unrealistic. So I want to keep it realistic as possible, and the first one we're going to get into is on the defensive side. It is Juan Thornhill. He predicts himself to be an all-pro safety this year, so my bold prediction is that Juan Thornhill is going to have his best season of his career, but not just that. He's going to have a better season than what Tyrann Mathieu had with the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, it depends on what you think was Tyrann Mathieu's best season. In 2019, he came in at 75 tackles and 4 interceptions. And then 2020, when they won the Super Bowl, he had 63 tackles and 6 picks. I'm banking that to be Tyrann Mathieu's best season. And I'm going to say Juan Thornhill is going to have a better season. I think he's going to get more tackles, and I think he can get those interceptions, if not more. We saw what Juan Thornhill can provide his rookie year, and it was exciting. He was explosive. The athleticism was on the charts, and he says he is fully healthy and feels better than ever. If he feels the way he felt in his rookie year, and if he moves the way he does now, that's going to be a sight to see, and it's definitely going to be a great change of pace for this defense too. And even the defensive players and the defensive coordinator and defensive coaches mentioned that not only has he taken that next step up on the field, but also vocally too on being a leader. So if Juan Thornhill is basically putting the pieces together, anticipate a huge year for him because I don't think that's highly unlikely. I think he is in for an all-pro year just like he predicts. Now, this one might rub a lot of you the wrong way because a lot of you are, I don't want to say salty, but let's just say bitter that this player is still on the team, don't think he can turn a new leaf, and we're going to get into Frank Clark. My bold prediction is he's going to have 10 sacks. Yeah, double-digit sacks is something. Has he done with Kansas City? Fact check me in the comments, but I don't think he has. So that would be his best sack production with the Kansas City Chiefs. And I know a lot of you don't think that's possible, but he's looked faster than ever in camp. You could tell he's taking it very serious. He's cut down weight. He's been a mentor to, I almost said Curious George. You guys are messing me with that nickname. I'll just say with George Karlaftis. And I think he is really owning his role now with the Kansas City Chiefs, and I think that's a very good thing. And also, too, he's got big money on the line because his contract is heavily incentives to where he's got millions of dollars on it. And, as they say, contract year is undefeated. So I anticipate him having a big year. 10 sacks is big for him. Honestly, when I was looking at it, I was about to put 10-plus sacks. But then 10-plus sacks, people will be like, you think he's going to go for 13, 14? And that's something I can't even really believe. So I do think 10 is a good number, and I do still think that's bold. Now, this one is another fun one where I might need fact-checking again. I didn't do NFL history records and stuff like this. So I don't even know if it's a record, if it's ever been done before, or how highly unlikely this is. But the big question mark in the Kansas City Chiefs this offseason was their receiving core. Who's going to step up? Who's going to be that next playmaker to basically replace Tyreek Hill's production? I'm going to do this. The Kansas City Chiefs will have 3 1,000-yard receivers on this team this year. Again, I don't know if that's unrealistic. It doesn't sound like it, specifically in this day and age when it's just an air raid passing league. And we know Patrick Mahomes, he can go nuts at any given moment. Of course, with my receivers, I think Kelsey's a lock for 1,000 yards. I think Juju will get it. And then now everyone's going to be like, who's he going to put? MVS, McCole, a sleeper, and Sky Moore. I'm going to put McCole in there as that third wide receiver to get 1,000 yards. Again, I know that's not the sexiest name. I know that's not a name a lot of Chiefs Kingdom likes to hear, specifically in the receiving room, to be like, we already know what he provides. We do know what he provides. And last year, even though he didn't see that many snaps or that many much playing time as well, he still almost had 700 yards, and you expect that role to increase. And if it increases in the slightest, he's going to be pushing 1,000. So why would that seem highly unlikely? I think Kansas City has a really good shot this year to be a very explosive offense that, let's just say, the national media doesn't expect, because I know a lot of Chiefs Kingdom does. And all these wide receivers on this team can step up and produce in this offense. And I really anticipate McCole Hardman's going to have a breakout year. And like I mentioned with Frank Clark, contract year. It's undefeated. He going to ball out. Now we're going to step back on the defensive side of the ball. And now I'm going to get it right. We are going to talk about George Karlaftis, Mr. Furious George himself. And I believe he's going to lead all rookies in sacks this year and be in contention for Defensive Rookie of the Year. We've seen the motor on this kid. It is relentless. I think he's going to get more playing time throughout the season. I know on the initial depth chart he wasn't listed as a starter. Shit, neither was Carlos Dunlap. It all surprised us Mike Dana was. I think that'll be adjusting. Even though he wasn't listed as a starter, anticipate him to play against the Cardinals. And if he's playing, he has a chance at a sack because the kid never gives up. And now you've seen where I mentioned Frank Clark has 10 sacks, and I could predict George Karlaftis to have 10 to 12 sacks, and then you're like, well, what about Chris Jones? I don't talk about Chris Jones just because I expect him to produce, and I expect him to be in that 13 to 15 sack range too. That means Kansas City I expect to have is one of the best defensive lines, and why not? They spent high dollars on that defensive line. It's about time they produce and show this defense what it's made of and be aggressive, stop the run, hit the quarterback, and give the Kansas City Chiefs one of the best defenses they have had in a long time. So keep your eyes out for George Karlaftis because I believe he will be in the running for Defensive Rookie of the Year. And now my number one, I had to think about this for a millisecond. And that is Patrick Mahomes will have his best season to date. And yes, I do mean he's going to eclipse 5,000 yards again. He is going to throw for over 50 touchdowns. Mike Greening worded it perfectly this morning when he mentioned that when the media basically doubts your team and throws your quarterback against the wall like they've done to a Peyton Manning or an Aaron Rodgers or a Tom Brady, it's, hey, come out swinging and come out fighting and prove you are the elite quarterback. And who else better to do it than Patrick Mahomes too? And I feel like that motivation is key this year. He's heard all the junk. He's heard all the trash talking this year. Kansas City has fallen off. He's going to fall off up without Tyreek Hill. He knows he has something to prove, which he doesn't. But if you give someone a chip on his shoulder, especially a Patrick Mahomes, expect him to scorch the earth like Mike Greeny said. And also, too, I know when people look at that, when I say over 5,050 touchdowns, like, how's he going to stretch the field without Tyreek Hill? Chiefs Kingdom knows these weapons, there's weapons of galore on this offense. But also, too, watch the scheme and play calling throughout the year with this offense. Not every touchdown is going to be an 80-yard pass. Probably very few of them. But I do anticipate Reed to get a lot of short passes, which can be beneficial for Mahomes, and screen passes. Those can go for touchdowns too. Recall when Peyton Manning broke the record, a lot of those touchdowns were within 30 to 20 yards of the end zone. So I do anticipate Kansas City to be a heavily pass team because that's just what Reed is all about. I do expect these running backs to be involved too. If it's not in the running game, I think the screen game is going to be key for Kansas City this year. And you better watch out for that because that'll tally Mahomes' yards and his touchdowns and the best year yet to date in his career. But with that, Chiefs Kingdom, I'm going to cut this video off. Dive in the comments down below. Let me know some of your bold predictions, and I'll give you my takes on how I feel about your comments. With that, please be sure to subscribe to the channel and give me that big thumbs up and like this video. Y'all take care.